No? All right. So we are now live on Facebook and YouTube. Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick. I'm actually the science fiction and fantasy selector here at the Poison Pen. And I've known Kevin since the very beginning. And this is really exciting because this is the 10th year anniversary for the Iron Druid series. And we are so lucky. Let's give a... So tonight, Kevin is going to regale us with some stories. He's going to answer any of the questions that you might have. For those of you who are online, you're more than welcome to ask questions, and we'll go ahead and ask Kevin for you. So feel free to do so as the series goes on. For those of you who are here as well, feel free to ask questions, and then we'll get the chance to break out, and you guys will actually get a meet and greet with him as well. For those of you who have bought a book tonight, thank you very much. It is your vote for Kevin coming back in the future. We're kind of like PBS that way. For those of you who have cell phones on you, go ahead and set those to silence. That way we don't interrupt the program. And
I should do that, eh?
Once again, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kevin Hearne.
Thanks. All right. Is the microphone working? Yes. It is? Okay, cool. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming. It's so cool to see you. It's been a while since we've seen some books. And thanks to the Desert Wolfhound Society for bringing the amazing dogs there. It's surprising how many people just don't understand how huge Oberon is. You know, like they're like, oh, is he kind of cute, like a cocker? No, he's more like a horse. So yeah, they're just gorgeous animals, and I'm really grateful to them for coming out, and grateful to you all, especially just for not only reading but spreading the word. The fact that I get to be here talking about a reissue of my series is sort of a miracle in itself. When I first started this whole thing, I thought I was just going to have the one book, if that, because I didn't even think I would sell the first book. I thought nobody would want to read a book about a talking dog and a druid, because that thing didn't really exist. Druids weren't a thing in urban fantasy. So thank you all so much, because I have had a great time going back through the series and fixing things that have bugged me for 10 years. In Hounded, near the end of Hounded, it says that Emily got her just deserts instead of just desserts. And I've been losing sleep every night for 10 years going, it says just deserts. Everybody thinks that I don't know the difference between deserts and desserts when I grew up in a desert. So anyway, that kind of thing was, I'm so glad that I finally got to fix stuff like that. I got to update some jokes, things like that too. I had fun with that. And then I also got to collect a whole bunch of the short stories and novellas that I had written during the years, and they got published here and there in anthologies, and sometimes people just missed them. But now we were able to include them in these editions in chronological order, which was a big deal too, because one of the novellas, Two Ravens and One Crow, was supposed to take place between book 4 and 5, but they had put it at the end of book 6. And that bugged me, but at the time that we were doing the series, because of publishing schedules, they're weird, that was the best we could do. So I'm so glad that now you will get Two Ravens and One Crow where it belongs, at the back of book 4. So you can read it all in order now. And then I also got to put in brand new stuff. So stuff that doesn't appear anywhere else. It's not in audio, because this is all bonus stuff that I said, hey, I'll do it for free. And that is a price the publisher really likes. And so they can't do that for audio though, right? They can't, pay Luke Daniels to narrate all of the new stuff and then not charge you for it, because somebody at the corporate level will go, well, that's not how we do business. That's how they'll sound too. So that's why this is it's exclusive to ebook and print, all of the new bonus stuff. And actually, I need to borrow a copy of Trapped. if somebody has one of the new copies of Trapped. So Trapped is one of the ones that has number 5, purple cover. And oh, I got one coming right here. Thank you so much. There's one right here. I appreciate it so much. So at the back of Trapped, make sure I give this back to you. There is the Dead Flea Scrolls. Okay. Now in the book, Oberon says he's going to start his own religion for dogs called Poochism, and Atticus is like, you're going to write that. She's like, well, you're going to write it because you have the thumbs, but I'm going to dictate it to you, and it's going to happen. So I finally got to write it. So it's a serious prophecy of Poochism, channeled by Oberon the Irish Wolfhound and edited by Atticus. So this is one of the new bonus things, and I was going to read you just a couple of different passages from it really quickly. There's the Scroll of Sirius, as in Sirius the dog star, right? The Scroll of Kennels, the Scroll of Sausage, the Scroll of Max, the Scroll of Fluffy, Scroll of Squirrels. Yes, we have to explain evil somehow, don't we? If we're going to explain how the world works, we got to get squirrels in there. So anyway, I'm going to read a little bit to you. And how many of you, by the way, are audiobook listeners? I imagine it's quite, yeah. So, yeah, Luke Daniels is so incredible that slowly over time, more people are reading my books in audio than they are in any other format. Like, I actually make the most of my money from audio now, which is great. That's just a testament to how awesome he is. And by the way, in case you did not know, listening to an audiobook is the same processing thing in your brain as reading it. Did you guys know that? It's that you're doing the same thing. You're still imagining stuff. You're still translating language. It's all the same stuff. So you're still reading, okay? And but I love the way he performs. But I have to warn you that I am not Luke Daniels, and that I won't sound like him. But I also will mention that when Luke Daniels performs his stuff, none of his voices are the way they sound in my head when I write. And that's totally cool, right? Everybody should have different voices in their head when they're reading, right? So that's part of the fun of it, and I enjoy. And everybody's got their voices in their head. So yeah, you know. Yeah, we already got them anyway, right? Don't have to pick up a book for that. So I'm going to read a little bit of the Scroll of Sirius to you and a little bit from the Scroll of Max. In the beginning, all kinds of wild stuff happened, but none of that really matters, like who started it, or when did it begin, or why even bother, or how does that work? Because the fact is that we're all here now, and there are cows to eat, asses to sniff, and plenty of humans who will voluntarily rub our bellies. Beyond that, many humans like to fight over what happened in the beginning, even killing each other over who started it. And we can all agree that such behavior is very bad, and there is no need to duplicate it. Much of the killing amongst humans revolves around the proper name of God, which we need not be concerned. The reflection of God is dog, sometimes called Sirius, but also known by many other names over which we will never fight and kill each other. Sometime after the very beginning, when God had already made planets and stars and set down rules for the universe like physics and where to go to the bathroom and who would clean up our poop, not us, God made sausage. And at that point, the universe became bearable, perhaps even hopeful. The sausage of God was made from pure mystery. One does not inquire how the sausage was made, or what ingredients make up its substance, for such questions distract us from the glory of its taste and the magnificence of the gift. Therefore, I say, ask nothing of your sausage, accept it as a blessing, and there will be joy. Now, that is just the first chapter. By the way, I have set these in chapter and verse like the Bible because I'm a smartass. So, you can quote this to people. Well, this is scripture from the Scroll of Sirius. So I hope you do. I would love you give it a shot. So there are 3 other chapters in the Scroll of Sirius, but I'm going to read the entirety of the Scroll of Max to you. It's very short for reasons that will become clear. All right. I had way too much fun writing this, honestly. Okay. It is a plain but woeful truth that we dogs have no opposable thumbs. Fortunately, by way of recompense, through divine justice, Sirius gave us the ability to lick our own genitalia, and that is both a right and a pleasure that every canine should enjoy. However, the well-mannered dog will not do so in front of humans or within their hearing, since they are sadly incapable of such feats, insanely jealous of us as a result, and often become incensed with us whenever we lick our boxes or balls for any length of time. Stop that, they say, when they themselves would never stop that if they could ever once start that. You know what? Now's as good a time as any. Get busy. Editor's notes. Oberon got busy, so the scroll of Max ended abruptly for obvious reasons. Okay, so that's the kind of fun stuff I got to finally write. In Shattered, for example, Oberon talks about how he's going to write the Book of Five Meats, and it's there. It's there now. And then you might remember that Granuaile was a little bit obsessed about whether vampires could poop. Well, that was not the only question about vampire biology she had. She filled up a notebook with him. So that's at the back of State. It's Granuaile's notebook, and it's illustrated. She drew pictures. So she's got questions. And I'm not sure we're ever going to get answers to all of those questions about vampires, but she thought about it a lot. And then, of course, at the end of Scourged is a novella that maybe a lot of folks missed. And it's called, it's narrated by Oberon, and it's called The Buzzkill. And it's set about 6 months after the events of Scourged with Atticus, Oberon, and Starbuck in Tasmania. So that is a little bit of a little bit of a closure, a tiny bit. It's partial to stuff that happens in Scourged. And then the rest of it happens in the second book of the Ink and Sigil series, which is called Paper and Blood. And so for those of you who are not familiar with the Ink and Sigil series, that is set mostly in Scotland. And it's basically a sigil agent. His name is Al McVarish, who has to do a lot of the work that Atticus wasn't doing. Bree had created sigil agents so that they could enforce magical contracts and keep the folks who were supposed to not be on Earth off of Earth. And that was something that Atticus was supposed to be doing, but he, of course, was hiding for all those years. So she had to come up with something else. And so sigil agents actually use druidic magic, but they're not druids. They're using sigils that temporarily give them some powers, but they fade very quickly. So it's kind of an interesting, fun variation on the magic system. But it also means that anybody who shows up, or who is in the Iron Druid Chronicles, can show up in the Ink and Sigil series. And they do. They do, especially in Paper and Blood. Somebody shows up that you haven't seen in a while. So, and that's a lot. That was a blast for me to write. So I hope you guys dig that quite a bit. Also, those of you who have read Paper and Blood or Ink and Sigil, you might be wondering what is going on with Gladys, who has seen some shite. Who is also a new favorite of mine, along with Buck Foy, right? And Saxon Codpiece cracks me up too. But anyway, Gladys, who has seen some shite, I wrote her origin story. And that is going to be a short story in an anthology that comes out in a couple of months. It's called Unbound 2, the Roman numeral 2. If you want to pre-order it now, you can directly from the publisher. They're called Grim Oak Press. And this is the publisher that's done a lot of great fantasy anthologies. First one they did was called Unfettered. Maybe you guys have heard of that one. Almost everyone has heard of Unfettered because it included short stories from such a huge, lineup of folks. And the signed copies of that where all 24 authors sign it, like it includes things like Terry Brooks and Patrick Rothfuss and Brandon Sanderson. I mean, it's a book full of everybody's signature. And I think that is going for well over $500 if you wanted to get one now on eBay. I don't know what it is. I haven't looked in a long time, but that was kind of an amazing anthology. So he continues to do that where he puts out anthologies with fantasy luminaries of one sort or another. And so Unbound 2 will be out, I think, in November, and you can pre-order it now if you'd like, and not only get Gladys, her origin story, but also a whole bunch of other great stuff, too. And then in terms of like what I've been up to lately, besides that, I just finished, before I came out on this tour, I finished writing the third book of the Seven Kennings, The Curse of Krakens. Thank you for the small golf claps. I really appreciate that a lot. That series is honestly like the series of my heart. It's what I've been working on for a long time. So like I wrote the Iron Druid Chronicles in a lot of ways to kind of build up my writing chops so that I could, do a good job with the Seven Kennings. And I got my notes back already from my editor. She really liked it, and I hardly have anything to do to fix it. So that made me feel good. It's like almost like I learned how to become a better writer over the years. So that will be out next year. And they're telling me, though, it's like over a year from now. They're telling me in November. But in that time, I still have to finish the maps because I illustrate the maps for that. There's 2 new maps in there. And then there's also some other little goodies that I want to put in the appendix and stuff like that. So that'll be out next year. And then the next thing I have to write after that is the 3rd book of the Ink and Sigil series. So that's, you know, it'll be also probably out the year after, you know. So there you go. That's what I'm up to. Now, I don't like you to come to these things and then, you know, go away with nothing but my signature. So if you have questions for me, I would be delighted to answer them. And I sometimes go on at length and answer very thoroughly. Yes.
Hi, I'm Moonmonk on Twitter.
Hey!
That's been tweeting at you randomly.
Oh, yeah.
I have like 1,000 questions, but I'll limit it to one. What was your inspiration, I guess, for the switch from Iron Druid over to, because Ink and Sigil is my favorite. I loved Iron Druids, but like I ate through Ink and Sigil,
Yay!
Paper and Blood. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
So what was your inspiration for like that character and that switch from like Druids over to the sigils and just like the whole process?
Okay, so the magic system, believe it or not, is all secondary to the way I think. I came up with it later. What I was actually interested in is Al as a character as opposed to Atticus, here's a guy who's incredibly old, Atticus I'm talking about, but doesn't look it. And then Al is just older in our terms, he's 62, and he's trying to retire but can't because his apprentices keep dying on him. Now, what I was interested in is like how do people deal with aging and grief, and that was a part of Iron Druid too. So it's a theme throughout the whole, you know, both series really, and that's kind of where I was coming from there. And of course, Al shows up in the Iron Druid series in Besieged. He has 2 lines in one story, Cuddle Dungeon, and that's where he was introduced. He's the Scottish wizard that shows up and directs Flittish around and that kind of stuff. So that's where he was, you know, where he showed up, and I got so curious about him afterward. Like, why was that guy there? What is his deal? What does he do when he's not in the Iron Druid story? What's going on with him? And the more I thought about it, the more fun it was for me to pursue, because I could have pursued a lot of stuff. I could have gone to, you know, the witches, the you know, that kind of stuff. But I decided, you know, this will be a lot better. So
I always find it interesting when characters make themselves, and then they niggle their way into your brain. And stay there. But yeah, I was just curious about like the process that went under.
Yes, that's what happened. Hi, Aunt Nancy.
How are you?
Doing good. I have some of my family here tonight. Hey, we're all going to Coach House afterward if you guys want to go. Just right up the block, right over there. Yeah. So anyway, that I took care of your question, right?
Yeah.
I got it. Okay. Yes. Next one. Yeah. Okay. So he's about 2.5 feet, you know, tall, maybe 3 if he's doing his hair up. So he's kind of tiny. He looks like a toddler. Yeah. Well, his hair's not a little bit, but it's Nadia's that's really big. She's got the mohawk thing going on. So, but Buck is a short little guy that looks like a toddler to a lot of folks, and then he looks sunburned because his skin is pink. So that's the mistake that everybody makes instead of realizing this is actually not a human. They just think it's a sunburned kid. So there you go. You bet. Yes. I used to. Yeah. Unfortunately, they got a little bit old over time, and passed away during the pandemic. But they'd had nice, long, very well loved lives. Yeah. So it was a pug and a Boston Terrier. So I had a real Boston Terrier for the inspiration for Starbuck. Yeah. And they're very expressive dogs with their faces, right? So that's kind of where Oberon came from. And I see I have a question here and then back there. Yes. Go ahead. When did I think of making them? 2009. That's when I wrote them. Is that when you were born? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, 2009. And I wrote them mostly during 2009 and then a little bit into 2010, and then they all came out, or the first 3 came out in 2011. So, interesting bit of trivia timeline-wise. Hounded is set in 2010, and then if you look at the rest of the books, and then Granuel has her training period, and that's 12 years. So Scourge takes place this year. And Ragnarok happens this year, okay? And so, in fact, because of the timing of how this worked, in Scourged, in this new edition, you'll see a reference to the war in Ukraine because I could put it in there because it was happening this year. So there you go. That was a weird little timing coincidence kind of thing that happened there. Yeah. So that's when it all started. And then we had a question back here. Partially because I'm a good chunk of me is Irish. I'm kind of a UK mutt. You know, I've got a whole bunch of, you know, there's Welsh and Scottish and whatever in there. British. I think that's the other one left, right? So there you go. That was part of it. And then also I actually found the Irish pagan pantheon really interesting. Flittish, for example, is very similar to Greco-Roman Artemis and Diana. We know for a fact through archaeological records and so on that there was commerce between Greece and Rome and the Irish island, right? So there was some cultural communication there that was going on. So the Irish had a huntress, but Artemis and Diana were virgin goddesses, where Flittish was really not. So, but that tells you a lot about Irish pagan culture, right? There was no women were supposed to have, you know, fulfilling sex lives, and there was no slut shaming or anything like that. It was great. Flittish was celebrated for her appetites. So that was a cool thing about the culture that you learn just by looking at what the gods are like and, you know, what they represent. Yes.
The most interesting thing a character did, you couldn't stop them from doing.
Okay, so you know when the priest and the rabbi walk into the pagan bookshop, and like I was just being a jerk that day and just hey, what's it? You know, I was like a joke, but then the rabbi's beard moved and it freaked my ass out a little bit. And I just Jesus, that's scary. And then I'm like, well, now what happens? And I actually was really interested. So that was not my outline or anything. Those were characters who walked on one day, literally because I was, you know, just messing around. And then because they kind of instantly turned creepy, I was like, well, I kind of want to know more now. And then they kind of worked their way into the series after that. So yeah, there's your answer. Hey, Tracy. By the way, this is my cousin Tracy. And so those of you who have read Hammered, and then when all the shenanigans are done in Asgard, and they come back and they go to Globe and they go to the Huddle and they have a beer and Tracy owns that bar. That's yeah. Yeah. The Huddle is a real place, and is it called Big Boys? Big Boy, yeah, giant beers. So yeah, if you're ever up to Globe, go and say hi to my cousin. And you still have that teak motorcycle?
Oh boy, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly, right? So the teak motorcycle is a real thing, and you should go check that out. And so have a beer at the bar where Perun and Atticus were. Yeah. Yeah.
Taken your pen and told you who they are, taking the story off with, and you just sit there and take your hand.
I can't think of any, but I'll give you a different cool little piece of trivia as a consolation prize.
Okay.
There's only one character in the whole series that's based on a real person, and it's the Widow McDonough. She is based on my grandma. So, because my grandma used to sit outside sometimes, and she'd watch the world go by, and she'd sometimes have some whiskey or whatever, and she would not be shy about sharing her opinion on whatever she saw. So that was that was the one thing, and I never got to say goodbye to my grandma. So when Atticus says goodbye to the Widow McDonough, that was my makeup. So there you go. Yeah. Yes.
Did you have to do a lot of research on Druidism?
Yeah. But part of the fun is there's not a lot of information out there, so I could make up a whole lot of it and nobody could say I was wrong. So, but what I did, like the powers that I gave to Atticus were always powers that had been attested in multiple sources. Like it wasn't just one guy who said Druids had the power to shapeshift into animals. It was multiple sources that said that. So things like that, the teleportation I changed a little bit to shifting planes. So all of that stuff came from multiple sources. You just have to remember that all of the sources that we have that wrote things down about druids didn't particularly like them, right? One of the things, though, that I took as a fact that I didn't change at all was actually from Caesar, who wrote a lot of stuff about the druids that was just BS. But one of the things he wrote about was a 12-year training period. He had political agendas for almost everything he wrote, but that was just like a simple fact that I didn't think he would make that, like, what was the advantage of lying about that, right? So I thought that that was like one tiny fact that was real. So, yeah, that's where the 12-year training period came from. It came from Caesar, who said that that's what the druids went through. So, there you go. Yeah,
Kevin,
nerdy stuff, right?
I might have a question or
Sure.
two from the online audience, if that's
Sure.
cool.
Hi, online audience. How you doing?
I need some help with this one.
Okay.
Nicholas says, question, can all gods create a giant body like, is it Pachamama?
Pachamama.
Pachamama?
Yeah.
Created in scourged, like say Perun creating a body made of lightning.
That's an interesting question. I think it would depend on what the people of that particular, that believe in that God thought that they could do. Their powers derive from the beliefs that people held of them. So Pachamama was this very elemental life force figure who had a lot of flexibility in how she manifested. Okay, Jesus also had a lot of flexibility in how he manifested, right? He would pick it out of somebody's brain and like, okay, that's a good one. I'll show up that way now. So it's that kind of a thing going on. I hope that helped a little bit.
And also, this is my own question.
Sure.
Have you, since you've had all your success, have you been able to go over to Ireland and spend some time over there digging around?
I haven't. So that's the weird thing. Yeah, I've never been to Ireland yet.
Oh, man.
I want to get over there, but I've been to Scotland, and I'm going to be going back to do more research for Ink and Sigil. But I never had to go to Ireland because Atticus doesn't spend a lot of time there. He's been over here where I grew up. So that was one of the things about the series that kind of ironic, I guess. But I do hope I get there. And if Atticus ever has a reason or somebody else has a reason to go to Ireland, I'll maybe I should think up one so I have an excuse to get over there. To get over there, yeah, because I'm just sort of obsessed about location scouting and making sure that the locations are accurate. You could walk into the places that I describe and recognize it, and then that's the reality-based stuff that anchors all the crazy fantasy stuff. You know, it helps all the fantasy go down if the location is real.
Now, can you find a good taco in the undisclosed location where you're currently?
No. So I live in Canada, and if you ask a Canadian where to find a good taco, they will tell you and believe that what they're saying is true, but it's not. I have not found. Well, okay, I did find one good taco at a taco truck, and I went there religiously for 3 months. But the folks were from Jalisco. They knew it. My goodness, the cochinita pibil was, so it was so good. And then what do? They sold it to a white guy from Barhaven. So now I went back and I'm like, well, maybe they gave him the recipes, and they did not. And it was not the same at all. So yeah, I'm back to not having any good tacos. So guess what I've been eating while I've been in the United States? I've had amazing carnitas. You know, I was in San Diego. I went to Old Town and had the carnitas, and they make all of their tortillas fresh, both corn and flour down there. And then, of course, I had carnitas again last night in Tucson. So, yeah, I've had a great time being back. Yeah. Yes?
Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about Prague?
Prague. Yeah. I love Prague. I got to go over the summer. My German publisher invited me to go over and do 6 cities in Germany. And I'm like, well, I'm already across the ocean, so I'm going to go to Prague. And it is a beautiful city. I highly recommend it. It's also cheaper to go there than all the other fancier places in Europe. Like, all the other places are more expensive and they're not as cool as Prague is. And the Pilsner Urquell, like, from there is different than what you get out of a bottle here. It's so dang good. And also their architecture is fantastic. And I found a bar there called Anonymous where they serve you in Guy Fawkes masks. I was just geeking out the whole time. They had a cocktail menu. It's like, here's our cocktail menu, and it's blank. You know, like, this is a joke, right? It's like, you have to have the proper lighting, and they have a UV light, and then it shows up. It's like a secret menu, so you have to, yeah. It's invisible otherwise. I just love stupid geeky stuff like that. It's so much fun. I had a blast. So yeah, go to Prague if you ever get a chance. It's worth it. There's a bridge called the Charles Bridge, and there's a sculpture there with St. John of Nepomuk, and there's a dog on it. And if you pet the dog, it brings you good luck. So the dog is shiny and golden, whereas the rest of it is all this very dull bronze. But everybody's been petting the very good dog for luck, as they should. So, yeah. Awesome. Any other questions? Yes, over here. And then we'll get you, sir. Oh yeah, I love his stuff. I love the Sandman. Yeah, and I love the idea that all the gods are real. Yeah, fantastic, beautiful stuff. Yes.
My mother asked if you're ever going to be like doing a scenario where any of the characters would ever be coming back to Tempe.
Possibly, maybe. I haven't thought that far ahead. Right now I'm just thinking of the next Ink and Sigil book, and most of that is going to be in an area of Scotland that's kind of, it's funky. I love the mythology there because it's unique. A lot of things repeat in mythology around the world. You get a whole bunch of thunder gods. You get a whole bunch of, this kind of, that kind of thing that's very common to all human experience. But there are some little critters that live in one strait between the mainland of Scotland and the Outer Hebrides, and I want to go and tell a story about them because they're unique in the world. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing next. So I'm not really thinking about Tempe very much. I'm thinking about that. So sorry to disappoint your mom there. Yeah, there's no Rule of Bull anymore. That really made me sad. Yeah. I've actually had somebody ask me now, like, where do you go for fish and chips? And I'm like, I actually don't. Why? I've already had the best. So I would love to find somewhere, but I'm also scared of trying.
Rosie McCaffrey's.
Rosie McCaffrey's, is that good? They are? It's a conspiracy against good fish and chips. Yeah.
English.
Yep. You will? That's my cousin Katie. I love her. All right. Anybody else? We're doing great. Yeah. Where are you out? Yeah.
Do you intend to start conversations with young children about sexuality and exploring inappropriateness that they love just as much as we do when they discover they love Iron Druid, and we'll have to explain to them what's going on?
No, that's all on you. Oh, that's all your fault. I didn't. I seriously wrote it for adults and didn't realize that I never intended it to be read by young kids. Yeah. Well, some great conversations having there. Yeah. It's just, yeah. Yeah. Great conversations there. Yeah, so I'm sorry about that part, but I never intended him to be. They're certainly not shelved in YA or middle grade or anything like that, right? They're shelved in the adult section, and not adult as in XXX, but it just, yeah. There you go. I never intended it that way, but there you go. Yes. It's a possibility. I've been thinking about it. I just don't think I could ever get them away from talking about asses. They're irresistible to dogs, right? It's like a huge part of their daily lives. So maybe just that, though. Yeah. Yes. And then we'll get you to yes. So there's a mythological cycle, the Fenian cycle, and of course I'm spacing the third one. There's 3 mythological cycles from Irish mythology that are available translated into English, and that's where I got it all. I have to warn you that they were written at a time where, well, the prose is not modern, shall we say, and it could drag on and be a little bit boring sometimes, especially when translated into English. But the Morrigan and all that stuff is there. Finn McCool, you get all of the good stuff going on there. And that's your primary source material.
Is that the Ulster cycle?
The Ulster cycle is the third one. Thank you. Yeah, so it's the Fenian cycle, the Ulster cycle, and the mythological cycle. Those are the 3 things. So if you look for those, like on Amazon or whatever, there's going to be a translation of them available in ebook. At the time, though, I read them on the Trinity University website in Dublin. So I wanted the most Irish source possible. That's where I went to read the original stuff. But I don't know if it still exists because I haven't looked in a while. Because websites they just take content down. But I know that it exists out there in the world somewhere. Yeah. We all set?
Hey.
Yes. Oh, we got a question from Barb. Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, no worries. Hi, Barb. Yes. We had another question from this young man. We're very sorry to distract you.
Yeah.
It's no worries. We can come back to you if you remember. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you remember? Okay.
She's got several.
That's a spoiler.
Spoiler.
Yeah, it's top secret. Let us just say that the entire series is about facing consequences for your actions. Yes. Yeah, that one I made up. Sorry. Granny's Closet is real. But the Triple Dog Dare Cafe, I just thought it would be funny, but I also realized that in terms of American legal system, people would be suing the crap out of each other if they went there. So there's no way that legally it would be allowed to exist. You know, like just the opportunity for lawsuits is just too huge. So that was definitely fictional. Sorry. Yes.
So Kevin, as a teacher
Yeah.
formerly, we've got a lot of kids in the audience. What would you recommend for those who want to become writers or comic book artists or whatever they're into artistically?
Yeah, you just need to finish your story. That's the main. You'll learn so much. Even if your first story is bad, it probably will be. I'm going to be honest with you because mine was too. How was your first bike ride? Did it go well for you? Probably not very well, right? So my first bike ride was, yeah, there was blood, there were tears. And so that's okay. You have to do those first few bike rides in order to do it well later. And that's the same thing with writing or art or anything like that. You've got to suck at it a little bit first. But that sucking is essential sucking because that's how you learn. You get better at it. So I learned so much from my first very bad novel. I learned what not to do next time. And so I would recommend that you go ahead and do the thing you want to do it the best you can, enjoy the process, and realize that it's a journey. And you'll just get better and better as you go, just like you got better and better at riding a bicycle. So, yes.
So you have a huge Chekhov's gun in Sigil.
Yeah.
Which is
Who cursed? Yeah, who cursed Al?
How do I ask this without giving spoilers? Will there? I don't want to know what it is, but will there be a resolution?
Yeah.
And
I already know the answer.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I won't grill you on that.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the details and I want to see it. Will we ever see a point where Al doesn't have to use the text to speech and isn't worried about it?
Well, wouldn't that be giving away the end? I mean, yeah. You'll have to wait on that one, but just be assured that I know what I'm doing. Yeah, yeah, yes. You have a question back there? Oh, the laser cannons are. Yeah. I don't think Atticus would allow that. Too much potential for something going wrong there. Shooting the wrong squirrel or something. Yeah.
Quick
That's
online
great.
one.
Yeah.
Is Gaia more powerful than all of the gods?
Yeah. I think so. Yes. there you go. I don't know. There could be some argument about that, but I would say yes. Yes.
Why did you make the squirrels evil and chase after Atticus?
You need to read the Book of Squirrels, the Scroll of Squirrels at the end of Trapped. You will understand about squirrels when you get, yeah. So, by the way, I should return this to whoever graciously loaned it to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. I like your sloth shirt. Slow-mo. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yes. Uh-huh.
I just love their spunk, their fire. Is there maybe any short stories or novellas where they would have their own?
Are you talking about like Gladys and Nadia?
Yes.
Or
maybe the Morgans, they could have their own road trip.
okay, so can I just say, for the record, I want a wizard van so badly. I like that is seriously like sometimes like writers are writing about what their wish fulfillment is, and that is it. I want like why don't we have wizard vans anymore? Think about all the cool art we would have just going down the road instead of it's like just boring electric vans or whatever. So anyway, I would love to have a wizard van, but I would love that kind of a road trip. Yeah, for sure. It's certainly a possibility because they're a lot of fun to write, and I think there's one of the funnest things about writing the Morgan is just how unpredictable she is, how she's wise in some ways and really naive in others, and part of this is her own fault and part of it isn't. And she's just a mess, and I love that about her and how she's trying to be better. She knows she's a mess, but don't tell her she's a mess, right? So, yeah, I do like all of them if in their own ways. So, yes, they would. They're dangerous singly. Yeah. So yeah, it's quite a possibility. Hey, down the road, we'll see what happens. Yes.
Especially like the Kennings book.
Yeah.
How do you come up with so many unique names and stuff, especially that without being like based in actual lore?
Yeah. Are you talking like the proper names for the characters? Yeah. Some of those are culturally based. I very purposely made sure, first of all, it's a second world. None of these cultures are cultures that actually exist here. But when you're talking, to make them look like their own distinct culture, they have to have their own language, right? Well, I couldn't make up 7 different languages. So I had to borrow from languages that exist here, and therefore their own naming system sometimes. So some of the names that I use in the series are actual names that exist on Earth, but some of them are names that are just names that I made up that follow the linguistic rules of names from the culture that I'm using. So yeah, that's kind of what I did there, and then I follow the hard and fast golden rule: never use apostrophes in the name. Yeah, I can't do if in fact if a book does have like names with apostrophes in the name, I usually just say, you know what, I'm going to read one without it. I can't stand those kind of names. I don't know what to do with them. So it became for a while like a popular thing in fantasy books to do that, and I don't know why. Yes.
In that vein, do you ever write some sections or particular sentences or lines just to drive Luke Daniels?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Can you repeat the question, Kevin? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, the question was, do I ever pick lines or names or something like that just to drive the audiobook narrator Luke Daniels crazy? And the answer is yes, I do. And because first of all, I know that he doesn't really get annoyed. He knows that I'm trying to mess with him a little bit, but he's such a great guy. He just accepts it as a challenge. It's like, he's trying to trip me up. Well, I'm a pro. I can do this. So yeah, when Granuaile was running across Poland, I think it was shattered, but maybe it was staked. Anyway, she's running across Poland at one point, and I was looking at her path, and I could pick any city I wanted to for her to stop in, but I picked the one with 7 consonants and 1 vowel. and so I do that on purpose to mess with him, because it was like Bydgoszcz. There's an SH sound and then a ch sound at the end. It's actually pretty fun to say. But if you look at it, the way it's spelled, it's just way too many Z's, and you don't know what's happening there. So, yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
I just want to express my appreciation for in the beginning of the Ink and Sigil books, you gave us kind of the explanation of how to pronounce things.
Oh, yeah. You betcha. I try to do that because, yeah, I mean, especially Gaelic or Celtic names or something like, they don't follow English spelling rules. So they have the sounds for V and W, but they never use those letters. So they have to use BH and MH and all that stuff. And it just looks insane to an English reader. But you get the hang of it after a while. But yeah, I provide that for folks who want to know how to say them, but there's never a test. If you say something wrong, I'm not going to be mad at you, so it's all good. By the way, one time in Denver, I met a kid. His name is actually Hearne. He was an Irish kid who immigrated to the United States when he was very young. He was born in Cork, and he came to live in Denver. So I was at Denver Comic Con, and he says, "Hey, thanks for writing a book with my name in it. I never thought that would happen in my whole life." So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I got to sign a book to Hearne. That was great. Anybody else?
Yeah, quick online one if you don't mind.
Sure.
The question is from Mark. What books did you read growing up? What were important books for you?
Well, my mom got me hooked on the Hardy Boys. You know, I was doing all those things. A whole bunch of things like that, little series things. Encyclopedia Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Judy Blume's stuff was great back in the day. Still is, I think. She's still being sold everywhere. I was just thinking about the Mouse and the Motorcycle. Mom used to read that to me a whole bunch when I was a kid. So, yeah, that's kind of what I used to read back in the day. And then when I got into reading stuff on my own a little bit more, actually going and buying books, the person who got me started on sci-fi and fantasy was Alan Dean Foster. He wrote both, sci-fi and fantasy. And he's, by the way, if you're not familiar with him, he lives in Prescott. And he's written like 120-something books. I mean, it's huge. He's had a heck of a career. So he was the one who wrote the first Star Wars book, Splinter of the Mind's Eye. So he's been around for a while. He does a lot of tie-in stuff, but a lot of his original stuff. And that one series was the Pip and Flink series. Featured a redhead kid who got in trouble a lot with his animal companion. So there you go. Yep, the flying snake. Exactly. Yeah. So, but that kind of adventurism and that kind of buddy duo thing that was going on there, that was obviously very influential for me. So, awesome. Did I wear you guys out? Yes, sir.
My mother heard that the series is going to be adapted into possibly a TV series or a movie.
Okay.
Is that possible, or?
Oh, sure, it's always possible. You just need somebody from Hollywood with a big bag of money. Yeah.
False.
It sort of was happening. It's not anymore. Sorry. It's just the way Hollywood is. They're like, hey, we're very excited about this. And you just don't believe them until you actually see it on the screen. Because they say a lot of positive stuff to you, and they'll promise that they want something to get done. And then there's just so many steps to make it actually happen. It's a miracle anything does get on TV. So I have no control over any of that. I don't have any Hollywood connections or anything like that. So if it happens, great. The only thing I have any control over is writing the next book, and so I just keep writing.
Did the check clear?
Yeah, the check cleared. So yeah, it was under option for 3 years with Warner Brothers, but the option is basically expiring right now.
You can keep selling the option over.
So yeah, I could sell the option to somebody else, and they can develop it if they want. It just depends. It was very close. It was placed at TBS, but then there was a huge merger of Warner Brothers and somebody else, and as soon as that merger happened, they canceled everything in production. They just said, nope, we're done. So that included the Iron Druid series. So it got canceled basically before it ever got started, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. So no biggie. I didn't expect it to happen anyway, so it was fine. I didn't have my feelings crushed. I was surprised it got as far as it did. So anybody else? All good? Okay. Yeah. Sure.
There were a bunch of super important character passings.
Yeah.
Namely one in particular that happens at Atticus' shop.
Yeah.
What was the lead up to, or the decision-making process that led up to certain characters just not being able to be in the rest of the series and having to go in the way that they did?
Well, sometimes you have to have folks die just to demonstrate that it can happen in the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
If everybody's going to be safe. Now, I also am not the kind of author who will just, kill all of the stuff, you know. So it just depends. I don't recall what the decision-making process was exactly for that character you're talking about, but I liked them. So.
I did too.
And I love Marge and the Stonecutters. It's one of my favorite bands. They're great. Hey, Barb's here.
I am.
Hi,
Hi,
Barb.
everybody. I'm Barbara Peters. I actually own the bookstore, or in fact, I'm giving part of it away to the staff, so I'm not the sole owner anymore. But I'm so glad to see Kevin. As you all know, obviously, we miss him, right? Because it's really been hard to have you move to Canada.
I'm sorry.
I know, but that's all right. But I have a couple of giveaways to thank these nice people.
Oh, sure.
So that's why I'm interrupting you.
No
Then I have
problem.
to go off for meetings. So in keeping with the Irish tone of this particular event, I have a book called The Drowning Sea, which is not science fiction or whatever, but it actually takes place in Ireland, where a woman, a Long Island homicide detective, moves to Ireland and has to try to get used to life in Ireland and policing in Ireland. And
A Long Island accent in Ireland. I like
there's
it.
a history. There's a village she makes up in a peninsula, and there's a murder. Ooh. Anyway, and then just now, I have to show you because I love these. When I was in New Mexico this summer, I found these gorgeous bookmarks that the nuns at the Monastery of Our Lady of the Desert actually leave. So I just got them in, and I thought I'd pick the one that has the green background to sort of keep in touch with this whole Irish thing. So Kevin, why don't we give away the bookmark first? And I would like you to pick a number. You should have a number in your book if you bought a book tonight somewhere. Right. I need you to pick a number between 1 and 28.
Okay, the number is 23. Really? I did not know that. I did not. Good job, cuz. Yeah.
Right there in the front row. Very good.
All right, another one.
And now we have another one, so it can't
Can't be 23.
It can't be 23.
All right, so this one we will do the number 4. Somebody who got here early, maybe left early.
If you're not here, you can't win.
Yeah.
But no,
All right.
No, Terry. If they're not here, too bad.
All right. So we'll do lucky number 7. There you go. All right. Congratulations.
Wonderful. So glad.
And then can I tell you about while that's happening? I'm going to tell everybody about this book.
Which we've sold out of.
Oh crap. Okay. So
Sorry.
the reason they sold out is because it's probably awesome.
good.
So this I happen to know Deanna Rayborn. She's a wonderful human being, and I've been enjoying her other stuff for years. She has a series called the Veronica Speedwell Mysteries, and this is a new thing from her called Killers of a Certain Age, and they're basically a group of 4 women who are now over 60. They're retired assassins, and somebody decides.
I'm over 80, and I could easily do this trying assassin.
Yeah.
Maybe one reason we sold out. Actually, she was here on September 8th.
And that's why, I knew she was going to be here on September 8th, so I pre-ordered a signed copy. So she signed this for me, and I've been wanting to pick it up. This is what I'm going to read on the plane home. And I'm so excited about it because she's, first of all, an awesome writer, and second of all, I love this premise. And third, obviously it's super popular. She hit the New York Times with this, and I'm super happy for her. And if you guys want to look for something fun to read, this is probably a good thriller for you to check out. And also for another couple of recommendations, I would say The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart is fantastic if you're looking for an epic fantasy trilogy. And then The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex Harrow. So beautiful, and there's a very good dog in it named Bad Dog. Yeah. So check those out.
So for you sci-fi fans, Rebecca Roanhorse is going to pay us a visit, but I don't have a date yet.
That's
she
nice.
has a novella, I think it is, rather than a full-length novel. But she's an indigenous writer, writes in Santa Fe, and Pat, wherever Pat went, Pat is a huge fan of Rebecca Roanhorse, right? So we're excited about that. Lots of great ones. We might have a couple of unsigned copies, but Deanna will be back. So if you buy a book, we can get it signed later, or you could just buy an unsigned book. Not everybody has to have a signed book.
That's right.
We try to remember that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to thank you all for coming, and I'm going to retreat to a meeting, but I wanted to see you. 'Cause
Yes,
I miss
thank you. It's so cool to see you again.
And also, I couldn't resist the wolfhounds.
Yeah.
And I was the last wolfhounds I saw were at Ashford Castle. Then you've been to Ireland and been over to the West Coast. It's on the, what's it called? The something walk, the Atlantic Way. So Ashford Castle, and its motto, you got to love this. The motto for Ashford Castle is excellence since 1228. And it's now a hotel, but their symbol are the wolfhounds. There's one in a statue of one on either, and every day at 11 o'clock, they have an Irish wolfhound that comes to visit and have brunch, and everybody gets to play with it. So it's really very exciting.
That's the
The
best.
pirate queen wolfhound back there, it looks just like that. So cool. That's great. Yep, you can have it. You can unpick it.
There we go. All right, Kevin, are you ready to sign some books?
Yeah, I wanted to warn you guys up front that I've been traveling a lot and all that good stuff. I will be wearing a mask while I'm doing the signing stuff. If you would like to take pictures, that's totally cool with me. But yeah, I am going to wear a mask for your safety and mine. And I really appreciate you all coming out. And if you have any more questions for me, when you come up and see me, I'd be happy to chat about whatever you'd like. Thank you so much. And then yeah, we're going to head to the coach house afterward if you want to go.